You're listening to the Heroes Power Hour presented by BlizzPro.com. Your host, Balrog fan Zexorus, and DJ Tyrant. Welcome everyone to the Heroes Power Hour. This is episode number 121 for October 17th, 2017. I'm your host, TJ Tyrant. With me is the crew as always. We are the Heroes of the Storm podcast, brought to you by BlizzPro.com. As we do at the top of every show, go around the horn, talking about our week in games. Let's start with P Flame G. How are you doing?
I'm good. My week in games hasn't been very eventful. Grad school has picked up. But I did some casting on Sunday, which was fun. I got to cast University of Utah, my home school where I was born, against IUPUI. They lost 2-1, but the game they won was pretty respectable, so got to root for the Utes. That was fun. We cast another set, but I've completely blanked on the teams.
It was FSU.
Oh, versus Iowa State University. Yes.
Yes.
So it's fun getting to cast more. I don't do it that much, but
yeah, for sure. Zex, how about your week in Heroes? What have you been up to?
It was fun. We opened Rec League this week with some minor hiccups, but nothing shattering. They were fun games. They went the way I expected them to, given the teams involved. But I'm just really happy that we got to start our own league, something that's our own. That was a lot of fun. Like Carl said, I got to cast some Tespa action on Sunday with Carl. Carl knocked it out of the park. He just stepped up, took lead, and just ran away with it. And I was like, oh, okay. And like it was really entertaining to watch. And I always enjoy casting FSU just because of their name, Crab Legs. I get that joke. I get that joke. I love that joke.
It's good stuff.
We missed out on casting XD Boy again, though.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. As far as play, I haven't gotten to play. I played some pre-show games after I ran home from work tonight. Thankfully, I won't be working there that much longer, as I've accepted a position with Beyond the Summit being a match admin, so that'll be fun.
That's super awesome, man. Like, that is super cool to be able to get paid to do esports work.
Yeah. It's been something I've been wanting to get in with them for a really long time, and thankfully this won't really interfere with me doing Nexus commentaries. I don't think that much. So yeah, that was pretty much my week. I'm kind of multitasking tonight as the giant robot fight is on.
Yeah, most definitely. As for my week in games, I played a bit more Heroes than I have been, which was kind of nice. Played a little bit more casually than normal. Tried to avoid quick match as much as possible, and I finally played a game of Volskaya. And I actually really enjoyed the map. It was really fun. Like, I'm excited to see it, hopefully in competitive, relatively soon. And I enjoyed that. And I just played a whole bunch of different heroes, mostly support and warrior, which seems to kind of be where my role is now. Also, went down to LA on Saturday and picked up the new Art of Overwatch book. It's really nice if you like Overwatch. If you don't, probably don't care, but it was a really interesting little event that they had down at the art gallery down there. Got to talk with Samwise for a bit, and he's a super cool guy and super chill. So apparently, I didn't realize this, but talking with him, since he's like the lead artist for Heroes, he does the concept art for about 80 to 90% of the stuff that we see in the game. So basically, all the skins that we see have probably been touched by him at some point early on in the development cycle. So he has his hands all over that. But yeah, I know a lot of you are here for our Trikslyr interview that we have been teasing a little bit lately, and Zex and I got to sit down with Trikslyr last night talking all about esports, heroes, and his history in the game. So we're not going to delay any longer. We're going to just get right into it and start with that and then get into this week's news. Headphone warning. It's a little loud at the start. Blame Zex. See you in a bit.
Sorry.
All right, everybody. We have a special guest here with us on the Power Hour tonight. With us is the one and only Trikslyr, the man, the myth, the legend himself. With me on this interview is Mr. Stay Tight himself, DJ Tyrant. Trikslyr, buddy, how you doing?
Good. You just took me flashbacks to 2015 with the Stay Tight memes. That's still hanging around here?
It is.
Yeah.
Technically, it's 2016, but it was like January 2016.
No, it's 2015. We've been in it for years. It makes me feel old. That's what we're going with. 2015.
Okay, there we go.
I'm good.
Oh,
I'm
my
good. Thank
goodness.
you for the invite. Really, it's really cool to be here, and I'm excited to talk about nerd stuff, man. Let's go.
So, okay, let's start it off at the beginning. Growing up, favorite games. What were they?
Oh God, we're going
way back.
We go way back on these.
I was not expecting my brain to go that quickly. Jesus, so you want first games that I started getting into? Man. So my gaming, what do you even call that? A career or adventure, whatever? Didn't actually start. I was a late bloomer until like Halo 2, Halo 3 times. But I did watch my dad play a lot of games like StarCraft Brood War. God, he played a lot of like these older like RPG games. I don't even know the names of them, but I could literally tell you they looked like Diablo, but they weren't Diablo. I would watch him play those all the time, older StarCraft, etc. But I actually started getting into gaming myself when my cousins got an N64 and they got GoldenEye 64, which was like the shiz back then. So I would bike my way over and I'd watch them play it. They didn't have enough controllers, so I never got to play. I was the witness in the background, just enjoying. I was the first like esport LAN watcher as I watched my two cousins play GoldenEye. And they would play like Mario 64 and stuff. But that was my peak in interest when it comes to gaming. And eventually, the USA Network actually put Halo 2.
I remember that.
Yeah, into a tournament format, and you could watch it weekly. And Final Boss was the team that I made sure no matter what, I tuned in for those games, and I watched Walshy and the Ogres.
Ogre and Ogre 2.
Yes! Destroy everybody. So those were really, really good times. It's eventually when I got my first console, which was the Xbox at the time, and then the Xbox 360, and eventually I hopped into Halo 2, Halo 3, and went on from there.
So I know a little bit about your history just because I've been involved in esports for a little bit as you have, but kind of take us through from like when you started with StarCraft 2 casting and eventually going to IGN and then Blizzard and then where you're at today.
Oh man, you might know it better than I do. You just like put it all out there.
Okay. Well, first, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you win a contest for the IGN thing?
That's actually, very true. So after I got done with Halo, I tried to like go professional in it. I played it for a little bit. I got to like semi-pro status, but never actually broke into like the top 8 of like MLGs or anything. But eventually Halo had its rise, and then it went to its fall. And the next big game for MLG was StarCraft 2. So StarCraft 2, I hopped into to play, and I quickly learned that I'm not Korean, and I am not good enough at beating everyone that wants to play that game. I thought I was a god when I played 7-pool and beat people, but when I had to play macro games, I found out really quickly that my fingers did not move fast enough, and I noticed someone named Husky Starcraft. He was actually casting a lot of games at the time for StarCraft, and while I thought he was really good, I didn't feel like he was starting to do analysis of like builds and stuff, and I was doing a lot of research in that, so I was like, well, I can be maybe as funny as Husky, but maybe I can mix in some commentary here and there. And so I jumped into the commentary train, and gosh, I was ass at commentary. I thought I was gonna be good. Can I cuss here? I thought I was gonna be kind of decent at casting, and StarCraft was definitely where I was like super amateur at, and I did that for a couple of years on and off while working regular jobs, trying to play here and there. But eventually, as you mentioned, there was a contest in Las Vegas for IPL 4 going into IPL 5. and it was a elimination bracket for casting games. Top 4 would go to IPL 5 and actually compete live on stage to win a job in San Francisco. At the time, Nathanius, I think, was my biggest competition. We both made it to the top 4. We went in and we casted, and luckily through interviews and my cast at the event, I won a job over like an 8-week span to actually make it in esports, and that was like my first big break.
Well, I didn't realize it was Nathanius that you were competing against back then.
Yeah, and honestly, like looking back on it, I think he should have won. He was so much better at StarCraft than I was. I think I just did a little bit better in the actual interview process that happened afterwards. But regardless, he's an awesome caster, and I'm glad that he's made it where he's at nowadays. He's also getting really big on Twitch and doing very well in the StarCraft world. But yeah, so I won that job, and I was in San Francisco for 2 months under the new job. Life is going great. I moved across the world. Best thing ever. And then the news comes in that a new company had picked up IGN, and it was Ziff
Davis?
Ziff Davis, that's it, yes.
Yeah.
They took the company over, and they decided that IPL was not profitable enough, and they cut the entire division. So I had moved across the entire country, drove 34 hours, started a new life, sold everything I had in Kansas City, broke off relationships there, everything, just to go in on esports. And I find out that before I even cast my first live tournament, the org I was working for had gone under. And it was the worst feeling in the world, man. I felt really, really bad. Luckily, Mommy and Daddy Blizzard came in and were like, hey, we kind of like what you guys are doing. And they wound up picking us up.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. It was such a good part of the story, too.
That's a story.
Okay, hold on.
Sure.
Let's back it up real quick.
Rewind a little bit.
Let's rewind.
Sure.
Because we lost you there for a second. Let's go.
Daddy Blizzard just picked you up.
Yeah.
Daddy Blizzard picked us up. Okay, Daddy Blizzard picked us up. We did StarCraft content called the WCS Today. There's still videos online if you want to see me looking like I'm 19 and I have no idea what's going on in the world.
Were you a part of that? There was a bracket show one year where they like drew the bracket live and had a whole production about that.
I remember working on it. I don't think I was a talent for it. I think I
it was like Jacqueline and Rob.
No, I was not a part of that one. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was I think a year before it.
Just because they did that like once, and I was bummed that they didn't do it more after that.
Well, you could tell Blizzard was like in this mode of like, we want to make video content. We're not sure how we want to approach it, so they kind of looked for different solutions, and I think the IPL crew was one of those solutions, while they also had some in-house solutions, and they eventually came around to getting much better at it. But you could definitely tell there was like a learning curve. But that was one of those things, and we did that too. We had WCS Today where we did that almost daily, and we had a 4-man crew, and gosh, man, the headaches we had. We would watch.
It was like you and Kevin Knock,
Kibbles, and then a couple of editing guys that were just completely talented. And we would watch 17 hours of content daily, try to condense it as quickly as we could, and then put it into a 4 to 8 minute show with a 4-man crew. Like,
that's insane.
I loved StarCraft, but I got burnt out, man. Like really quickly. It got to a point where I could literally look at VODs. I would jump from 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, 14 minutes, and I could tell you what builds were coming for which crew and who was going to win most likely if they microed correctly when it came to StarCraft. Like, that's how quick I got out consuming VODs. It got really, really difficult, but eventually it fell through, and when it fell through, they decided to bring down a lot of the people from IPL down to Irvine, California, and they were going to start up people in different positions, and one of the positions that I was offered was Heroes of the Storm Community Manager, which I was excited for. At the time, I was playing a lot of League of Legends in between StarCraft rounds, and the idea of a Blizzard MOBA coming out just sounded phenomenal, and I was so on board, and so I definitely hopped on that opportunity.
That's wow, that was an incredible story right there.
It's super long.
Honestly, IPL was my first introduction to esports. I remember.
Was it?
Yeah, I remember staying up late at night watching Kevin and company cast.
Yeah,
that was how I went to bed nightly with Kevin.
That out
no.
of context sounds amazing. Actually,
Someone clip that,
Yep,
please.
clip it, put it up. I don't care. The man, he's a beautiful man. And
Dude, he's been a great guy and a great mentor for a long time. I can't say nothing but positive things about Kevin, dude. Like,
Yeah,
he
I
just
mean, I
came
think
at-
everyone in esports has a story with him. Like, he spent one BlizzCon with me. After BlizzCon, spent like half an hour with me, just talking esports stuff
Now-
and career stuff and everything.
question: you said you were coming in around IPL 4. Now, was that the tournament that had Stefano in it when he was on Zerg, and he was playing against a Protoss player? Like,
Yeah,
we're reaching, and they mined the map out, and the Protoss finally won with
I
like
think
an
it was either 3 or 4. I think.
yeah, that was like at the end of IPL 4. It was the end of IPL 4 when the contest began, and it was IPL 5 that I went to cast.
right.
But I do know what you're talking about. That moment where there was a big Archon toilet and everything, and they finished it at the entire match. I think it was Kauai Rice, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Or was
Yeah.
it Kiwi Kaki?
Or Kiwikaki. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
It started with a K. We're on to it. We definitely know our esports.
There we go.
So, all right. Moving on. Is there anything you wish in your current position as the EU commentator? Is there anything you wish you could go back and bring back? The Blues. Excuse me. That was a lot of fun to watch, honestly.
Yeah, that was a fun little thing to do. That was kind of one of the driving things that I got to do at Blizzard that nobody else was doing, was like trying to do like community outreach. I really believe that if you bring a whole bunch of people together, that people want to watch that and enjoy and celebrate like patch days and whatnot.
Mhm.
I wish they would bring Brawl with the Blues back. I thought about doing it
I
on my
do
own
too.
time, but I'm too busy. Like, I got my own stream to look at. I got HEC Europe. Like, one of the things that a lot of people underestimate, they're like, why don't you just get all the 4 streamers together and just go play? And it's like, well, those 4 streamers all have their own schedules and their own plans and their own like goals that they want to do. Like, it's impossible to get people together. And I think working at like Blizzard, I had a little bit more pool available. I'd be like, hey, you guys want to show up? This is the only time we're doing it. They're like, yeah, I'll do it. But now I'm so busy that I can barely like just throw people, let alone myself, into like certain schedules. But I don't know, actually. I kind of agree. I kind of miss watching those. I hope Dylan or Ravnix kind of pulls it together next year, because he's a new up-and-comer community manager. He could totally do it. He would kill it. He's really skilled at the game.
All right, Jimmy, you got another question on deck?
Yeah, I've got a ton of questions. As far as casting heroes, what skills from casting StarCraft transferred over, and what was kind of new about casting a MOBA versus an RTS for you?
I think a lot of people think that casting is very easy to transition between games, and to some it might be good. Like a play-by-play commentator, I think, can do it better. One of the things that I like pride myself on is I really try to play the game that I am casting, and I'm actually invested in it. Like, I don't just cast it to cast it. If I'm casting it, it's because I enjoy that game and I play it and I want to be a part of it. Going from StarCraft to Heroes, the tempo changed dramatically in how you would commentate a match. So StarCraft, the first 2 minutes, you would do a 9 to 11 supply check and say, okay, is a proxy going to happen? Is there going to be any keys happening? No. Okay, here's a story that I can talk about for the next 2 minutes and set up the mid-game that will be happening around the 12-minute mark. And with Heroes, that changes dramatically. Now suddenly, instead of a 1v1 that's happening with certain builds that are set up and how they counter each other and how engagements will occur and how the high ground is handled, you have one player plus 9 other players trying to work together as a team to find the synergy. They have power spikes at 10, 20, 13, 16, depending on some compositions, and you need to figure out how you, A, keep up with the action, but B, interject a little bit of information as you go forward. One of the things that I learned with Heroes is that when you're commentating, you're not going to give everybody all the information about that match in one match. It's that simple. You're going to glaze over some things, and if you can teach them 1 to 2 things per match, that's totally okay, because there's too much going on in the game. Whereas StarCraft, I felt like you could really set the basis for everything and then kind of have fun afterwards and put like a storyline or an emotion with the commentary. So the big change up is that you have to let things go going from StarCraft into Heroes, because there's too much crap going on, man. It's too much action, especially with it just being a game that has no laning.
Good. And it's a really good point about the game that it doesn't have any laning phase. You know.
Yeah.
There's no let's wait for Shadow Fiend to farm up, and then we can he can rotate out a mid, and like I really shouldn't talk trash about Dota 2 because that's getting me an extra paycheck right now.
Look at this guy trying to dip into other waters and causing a ruffle here.
Oh,
Look at him.
Oh, hold on. Hold on.
I'm holding.
I've got a nice little Beyond the Summit chair.
Ooh, fancy, nice.
sent by them themselves because I've been their lead mod for like 6 years, and
There you go.
I asked for a chair, and LD's like, "Okay, here's a chair." So, and now I'm getting paid because I'm one of their match admins now. So,
nice.
But
Congrats.
yeah, it's the least they could do for me. But so the current meta in the HGC.
Sure.
What hero isn't being played that you would love to see come in?
Oh wow, was not expecting that because there is two different worlds and two different sides of the coin when it comes to like what heroes I want to be played and what heroes realistically should not be played in competitive play. Like, you guys know about the Ragnaros like lava wave meme. Like that was born from Hero League because I think there are people in Hero League that just don't play the game. And I'm like, all right, well, if I am able to soak a different lane, but also help my team fight at the same time, Ragnaros is like the perfect answer. But he doesn't work in competitive play. He doesn't have a body for actual fights. He can be dived upon, and he has too much wind-up time, especially when it comes to his Molten Core that can be punished heavily. When it comes to competitive play, the meta is in a bit of a weird spot where time to kill is kind of drawn out, first off, thanks to double support. But in terms of an actual hero that I want to surprisingly show up, I think with BlizzCon around the corner, I think the Zul'jin rework is good enough to where we could see him a lot. If we were to have somebody to surprisingly jump up pretty more often. I think he's the hero that I would pick going into the tournament to keep an eye out for. Obviously, there's Ana too. I think Ana's going to make it too because I feel like she's a bit busted, honestly. But
she is in a double support
sure.
comp. She is just outright violent in a double support comp where she's the secondary healer. Like, it's vicious what she can do.
In a coordinated environment, being able to remove 100% healing from a target, pretty good.
And her seed dart is the most annoying thing to fight into. Being able to like get an advantage in a fight, you finally edged out the small inch. Like, all right, we're in a spot where we can push this team, and she's like, no, just pops out of sleep, gets the penetration at level 1, and suddenly two people are just like, all right, well that push is completely done. It's basically a miniature Mighty Gus and disengage. Like you just stop the entire team from coming your way. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, in a coordinated environment, it's definitely going to be super powerful. But random Hero League game, you got that one guy. I'm going in now. They're asleep. Let's go. And no, half our team's at like a quarter HP. What are you doing?
He's making plays. Get off his back. You don't understand the high level strats that he's pulling off. Okay, you're flaming the wrong person here, buddy.
So,
yeah,
Jimmy, you better ask this one because I'm gonna troll it up if I ask it.
Oh, I don't even know which question you're
okay. Here,
towards
okay.
then.
Here,
oh my goodness.
Here we go.
Go for it.
So, if you could have any character in the Blizzard universe come into the Nexus, why would it be Dustin Browder?
Because
terrible,
he's an amazing
damage.
guy. He's an amazing guy. Dustin Browder is a legend, man. I think honestly, like he could come into the game and have only one ability, just drop rocks on the field, and people would probably play him. Like, I would play him. I probably wouldn't win that often, but I would play him as long as he had his VA. If he had a voiceover from the actual Dustin Browder himself, and he just had all of his lines, because that guy just inspires you, man.
Yes.
Like, he could be talking about anything, and you're like, you know what, Dustin? I agree with you. I think ice cream is disgusting. You are correct. Thank you so much, Dustin. Like, I don't know, man. That guy is he's an amazing person. So, you know what? Put him in the game. I'm down.
There you go.
All right.
I had a quick question just about HEC in general, and maybe pulling the curtain back on the production a bit. Who of the cast is the jokester of the group, playing pranks or whatnot? I want to say J-How. Yeah, who's the goofball? I want to say J-How, but...
Oh, you're talking about all of HEC.
Just all HEC, yeah.
J-How is a resident goofball.
Who's made you laugh the hardest, I guess?
I honestly, this might be a question, or it might be an answer that you wouldn't expect, but I think Grubby actually makes me laugh the most. He is the driest sense of humor. That he's the guy that, like, when he says a joke, you know he thinks he's funny, and that makes it more funny to me. Like, whenever he says something, I don't know. Grubby's been like good people to me for like the last couple of years, and when he says something funny and he has like a little glint in his eye, like he knows he's being hilarious, like that makes it 10 times more funny. Surprisingly, a lot of people actually think. I'm just gonna go on about all the casters, I guess. Surprisingly, a lot of people think that like Caldor is like this big buff butthead sometimes. Like he's like so German it hurts. But he's actually really freaking funny too, man. Like when he gets going about certain things that he's like super passionate about, like he's pretty darn hilarious. So I don't know. Those would be my top 3 that I think would surprise you in terms of humor. J-How, Caldor, and Grubby.
Speaking of Caldor, the video, the little skit you guys made.
Yeah,
I've done some video production myself with some roller derby skits. How long did that little skit take? How many takes did you guys have to do for you to get that run just right?
Are you talking about the actual physical run or the entire run thing? Because that dumb run
the physical run and the whole thing itself.
So the run, they made me do 6 different types of runs. Like serious runs, goofy runs, and of course they chose the dumbest one with me flailing my arms. Like I had a couple of like the first 2 were like serious runs, the 3rd and 4th one were runs I thought were funny, and then like the 5th and 6th one were like, all right, just go all out and just be stupid. And so you see me flailing my arms, and of course they go with that one. Between all the takes, I think we did each scene, so there was like 7 scenes each with different camera angles, at least 4 to 6 times. Just to make sure that we had all the angles in the cut. So, like, Caldor dived into that bush 6 or 7 times in that scene. Like, he didn't ruin it. The funny thing is that Doomhammer, the anecdote of that is that it was actually, it's the real Doomhammer. It's like that $300 one that's, like, super freaking heavy. And Caldor's a buff guy. And about 6 takes in, he's like, okay, my shoulder is kind of getting beat up here, like, holding this thing constantly. I felt so bad for him to carry it around. And then we afterwards did some posts where like we made the voices, like me running and the screaming and stuff. We did those probably like 3 or 4 times each. So it was a good 2 to 3 hours of work, I would say, getting it together for a 30-second clip, plus all the editing that we didn't even touch.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that is a huge portion of it. Is just editing everything out where you like it.
Yeah.
Taking things back to HGC though, proper. Who's going to take HGC this year at BlizzCon? Is EU going to stay up their ground and continue their dominance from mid-season brawl, or we're going to see Korea take it?
I honestly really think so. I think MVP Black is looking scarier than ever, even scarier than last year when they were absolute beast. So even with that being said, I still think Fnatic and Dignitas, to a degree, are going to be in the top 3 no matter what. And I don't know if that's part of me just because I cast EU all the time, but I truly think like European Heroes is like the best way to play the game.
What makes them so good then?
I like the control and the decisiveness in a lot of situations. Like you watch North America, and again, I'm not like trying to come here and like crap on North America. Like,
we do it all the time in the show.
But yeah, I know. I always feel bad because like those players are like trying their hardest, man. Like one of the things that I care about when it comes to like commentary is like, after playing Halo for 2 to 3 years, even though I didn't get that far, I knew how much work I put into it, not even to become a professional. And so I get an idea and a sense of like how much work they put into it. And so I always feel bad when I'm like, well, North America, they just suck, right? Like they're just not on the same level, and they make too many mistakes. And there are moments when they peter patter around way too much in shot calling. I think shot calling in North America needs to be leveled up a bunch. And I think part of that comes from teamwork. And also just being a cohesive unit, which a lot of teams are starting to get there. Like Roll20 is looking great. Team Freedom, to a degree, is becoming stellar, especially when it comes to late game team fights. I think they're getting better at the early game too. Like there is some major progress when it comes to North America, but they're not at that level when it comes to the international stage. So I look at EU, and that's all they've worked on for the last 2 years. You go watch VODs for the last couple of years, it's always been about discipline and trying to control themes and punish your opponents. And with HCC coming out, they've gotten much better at it. And there are moments when you look at a situation that's, okay, if they try to fight this, they either are going to win it hard and snowball the game, or they're going to lose hard. There's no in between. And they're willing to take those moments and not gamble on them and pull off and wait to another moment to where they can make that situation work for them. And I think that's why it makes them so good. Fnatic, again, just being on a different level, their execution and their ability to force mistakes out of people are very unmatched when it comes to the international stage. You saw that at the MSB. So I expect EU to walk away with a victory. And if it's not EU, I could see a world where MVP Black does make the stellar run at BlizzCon. And even though they didn't do so hot at the MSB, they might do well here at BlizzCon.
Now, is there any room for a potential dark horse run out of NA?
I mean, I'm always pulling for it, right? Like,
Yeah.
one of the weird things about being a commentator for Europe is I naturally cheer for them because I think that they're more skilled, but I've known North America for 2 to 3 years. Like, I've played with them in HL. Like, I know a lot of the players firsthand. I've been around them a lot, so I want them to do well. If there was going to be a dark horse run, I would probably put it on either Roll20 or Team Freedom. I don't think Tempo has the juice as a roster to do it. They've proven themselves not to do it, 3 times now in international events? They always seem to flop. And part of it is when they get on LAN, there's something off with the team when it comes to a killer instinct. And you need that killer instinct in a tournament, period. So if they can find that, they could definitely become a dark horse. But right now, with history and the way that they've played, I don't think they can.
Good. Yeah. All right. Good answer, Jimmy. You got another question lined up.
Yeah. Looking forward though, what would, if you were, say you were in charge of HGC, what kind of changes would you make for 2018 going forward with the league format?
Oh God, that's a loaded question that I was not prepared for.
If you're not comfortable with it, we can move on to something else though.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with no, I got a question. I got an answer. More skits. There you go. That's what I
There we go.
More
there you
skits.
go. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of a really, really hard question that I think warrants like a lot of thought into it, and I just wasn't prepared for it. So
Okay.
Call me a slacker. Go ahead.
Nah.
Yeah.
I will ask about your growing bow tie collection.
Yeah. Yes.
Not many people can pull a bow tie off, and you're doing it rather admirably.
I have moments where I think you just gotta be like full goofball. Even if you think it looks dumb, you're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna wear this, and I'm not gonna be able to breathe, but I don't care. I don't know. When it came to like getting dressed up for the events or whatever, we like try to have somewhat of a different style. Like Calories got the vest going on, Dread's got like the sexy appeal. I'm like, you know what? I'll just throw a bow tie on. I'll just be the goofball of the group, and yeah, it works, man. We've been grabbing one every 2 to 3 months, and I would say I have about 11 bow ties now, and my girlfriend's just all into it, man. She's like, she went to Iceland and she comes back with like 2 bow ties. I'm like, you couldn't got me a postcard or something, or like some chocolate? Like, thank you for the bow tie. They were nice bow ties though, and we wore them a couple times.
There you go. So I believe I'm out of questions at this point. If Jimmy, if you've got any more, now's the time to ask them.
Can you say stay tight and we'll see you real soon?
You want me to drop your line?
Yeah. Yes.
What if I screw it up?
Well, I screwed it up, so.
All right, here we go. What's the line? Stay tight. See you next
And
time.
we'll see you real soon. We'll see you real soon.
All right, that's it here. Stay tight, and we'll see you real soon.
And there you have it. Thank you, Trikslyr, so much for your time at the interview. That was a really fun interview. I felt like we could have gone on for much longer than that, but that was a lot of fun. Hopefully it was informative for you all on his background a bit. I know not everyone knows his esports background and kind of where he came from, but that was a lot of fun. And I think HEC is going to be really interesting to watch this year. I do think I agree with Trikslyr that MVP Black is really hungry to avenge their loss at Midseason Brawl, so we'll have to see how that all goes. I expect us next week to be doing a BlizzCon preview, so look forward to that. And any thoughts before we move on to some of the news this week?
Yeah, I really enjoyed getting to know about his past. I discovered StarCraft like 6 months ago, so I really didn't know anything about his time at IGN or anything like that. So yeah, I just like I knew Trikslyr as a community manager, and you know, I'd see him post on the forums and stuff, and I used to be around his MMR bracket, and since then I've become a much worse player. So I got a couple games against him, which was fun.
That's always good. There's been a few times I've watched Trikslyr stream, and a friend of the show, Digitality, has played on his team and against him.
Yeah, it is fun sometimes. I get to play. I think I played against Unileska a week or two ago. So it's like, oh hey, that's me. I'm one of the nameless faces on stream. I guess there's a name, but faceless names on stream.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun learning about him. Like Carl said, learning about the IPL portion was actually really fascinating because I used to be I was a huge fan of IPL, back in the day. So that was really interesting to learn. But yeah, I think we're ready to move on to the next portion.
Yeah, we didn't really do notes this week, so I'll try to lead us without us collapsing under the weight of not having direction. But did want to talk about some esports stuff. This is really the only news we have, but Michael Udall teased us yesterday that he was going to make an announcement today. He made an announcement at 6 p.m. Pacific tonight that he'll be taking a break from professional gaming for 2018. Looks like he's going to try to explore other ways to be involved in esports. And I think with how GFE failed to qualify for BlizzCon, this doesn't surprise me too much. And it almost feels like GFE was probably going to let him go anyways. But because Udall has kind of been the face of GFE for many years now, they kind of let him go on his terms versus them just putting out a press release being like, oh, we let him go. So I don't know. That's just my speculation on how this was rolled out. Curious what you guys think.
I mean, I really don't know when I'm behind the scenes. It was really cool, getting to see Udall come in through like the amateur scene and dorm and like rise up as a strong player on one of the better teams. That's always a cool storyline to follow. I hope, he said he's going to pursue other ways to be in the scene. I really think coaches would improve the level of play in this game by a lot. And like, I don't know how many orgs or rosters actually have the financial backing to have a coach, which is just, part of Heroes infrastructure being in its infancy. But, if you can offer stuff like that and helping out with teams as they prep for international events, even if you just like, hey, roll 20, I'm going to work with y'all for the next couple weeks leading up to BlizzCon and offer what insight I can. It'd be really cool for him to do. So, I mean, he'll be missed. I like Mike. I hope, I don't know that I really wanted to see him go this early, but he'll be missed.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little bummed because he always gave really good interviews and him always being like, yeah, we're going to win. And that confidence was pretty infectious. Zex?
Yeah, his optimism is definitely going to be missed. Like, he was probably like one of most optimistic guys in Heroes on whatever team he was, whether it was, ASC or Arizona State, GFE, but really with I've got to call it a collapse at this point because they were looking incredibly strong leading up to the mid-season, or not the mid-season brawl, but
BlizzCon.
No, to Western Clash. They were looking like incredible leading up to Western Clash, and then the second half they just completely fell apart, And I think now is a good time to take a break. Take a step back, do your own thing, and then come back into the scene later on. Now's a good time for a break because we're kind of in a midway point in Heroes where teams and orgs are starting to get more and more interested. And if Udall, from everything I've seen of him, is a really great guy to be a face for your org. And if they put him in kind of in that ambassador role, he'll probably get a ton of work done. So that's those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, yeah, it'll be missed from competitive heroes at least for now, but now I'm really curious to what we're going to see as far as roster changes post BlizzCon, because this is only the first domino to fall in what I'm sure will be a couple different changes going forward. And I think the only team that didn't make any changes as far as NA was Tempo Storm last season. I can't remember.
Well, a Tempo
That's
Storm's
so far
not
back.
not going to change. Like even if they go out, even if they don't make it to past the group stages, I still don't think they're going to make a change. Like, and I like they are that team. They are working through they have clearly worked through whatever problems they have internally to continue on as Tempo Storm.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and that's really it as far as esports news. We're kind of all just waiting for BlizzCon to starting up very soon. Actually, wait, when did the game start? Because if they start in the middle of the week, we might need to talk about these sooner than I thought. No, we're fine. Never mind. I thought it was a different week. All right, we're fine. So we are going to talk about the games next week. You can check out the group stages on the Heroes site. They're all up there. Get yourself acquainted, because we'll be talking about who we think is getting in and out of those groups and who will be winning BlizzCon 2017 in HGC for the year. But we did have, I believe this is it. This is the patch that we'll be playing BlizzCon on, released today on live servers alongside the Hollow's End 2017 event. And this also brings Junkrat, which will not be available for HGC. But this has some of the bigger changes we've seen to some heroes in a while, with this big change to Zul'jin. I believe we talked a bit in depth about that last week, but correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, check out we had P-Flame-G talk about that, and Murden as well. So some really interesting
we covered the
stuff.
big reworks.
Mm-hmm.
The patch that came out like Tuesday or something. We didn't really cover all the details on that.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about that. Wednesday there was a minor balance patch that touched like 20 different heroes. Kel'Thuzad got some interesting changes. Frostblast cooldown and mana cost reduced. The level 4E shielded amount increased as well. And at level 13, Icy Grasp increased slow duration. And Chain Link at level 13 has had functionality of returning the mana cost of Chains of Kel'Thuzad. So a little bit of a minor buff for some of the talents.
It's mostly, I think, buffs to underpick talents. They're trying to make sure he has some healthy variety in his talent builds, which I think is pretty fair. I like those talents at 13. I'll definitely kind of... It's hard to pick them, I think, because sometimes you have, like, here's a good talent in X situation, here's a good talent in Y situation. And these are all just kind of like, do you want to buff up your E, or do you want to buff up your W? So, I guess you can kind of go like, I want E build, so I pick this talent, and I don't feel as bad taking it anymore because they buffed it. But, anyways, appreciate the buffs.
Yeah, definitely. Lunar buff is really kind of interesting. And it's not like super crazy, but Wisp got changed to have a cooldown. The move cooldown reduced from 5 to 1 second, so you can move your Wisp a little bit faster, and the number of attacks required to kill the Wisp increased from 1 to 2, so teeny tiny bit of a survivability.
It just slows them down a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Aperture Spike Burst, his W damage got just a smidge higher. And Ultimate Evolution, we talk about this all the time, of heroics that are picked significantly more than others. Blizzard always tries to do this to encourage other picks get picked up, but cooldown is increased from 50 to 70 seconds on Ultimate Evolution. Don't think that'll change the pick rate much, if at all.
Yeah, because you got heroics like I'm trying to think of a good one, but like it's like Jaina has 2 heroics, and like right now people only pick Ring of Frost, but it's mostly because this just does more team fight damage, right? Like people used to pick War Elemental all the time. They're kind of interchangeable. They're damage heroics, right? But Abathur has, I'm actually useful in a team fight heroic, and I'm completely a split pusher, and you get to fight 4.5v5 for the whole game heroic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I like this if they're saying Abathur does not have enough windows of opportunity for the enemy team when they're down a hero because Ultimate Evolution is down. Like that's fair. If they're saying like from Balance's perspective, Abathur has like no downtime on his effective window in a team fight, then great. But it's not like incentivizing anyone to take Ultimate or to take Monstrosity who wasn't already going for that split push build.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm kind of jumping around, but Nazebo's next on the list, and these are interesting changes. I'm not sure I'm super on board with these, but they're definitely trying to move the health of him into the Voodoo Ritual stacks. It says that in the developer comment, but his base HP dropped by nearly 150. Corpse Spider is a little bit higher damage. Plague of Toads is down in damage. And Ravenous Spirit cast range increased by 1. But also to make up for that, the health per stack of Voodoo Ritual increased from 4 to 6. And a couple different talent changes, but PeopleMG, I think you're the only one here who's played Nazebo regularly, at least in some form or another. What do you think of these changes for him?
Well, one, they increased the cast range of Ravenous Spirit, and that's like my favorite ult in the game, so I'm all for that. But the trait thing with his health, where they nerfed his base health and buff the stacking, it's definitely going to take a lot of work to re-get that, because if you're having a pretty good game, I think the level 20 talent unlocks at 175 stacks, so you're getting like 350 bonus health out of this change, and you lost 150 base, and now at level 20 scaling it's probably like roughly equivalent, so I think it's just a flat nerf. But I don't know, he gets pretty tanky by the end of the game, so it's probably not the worst thing. The superstition change is weird though, because it was you get 40 spell armor, and you take like 25%. You get like minus 15 or minus 25 physical armor. But now basic attacks remove the bonus for 3 seconds. So if they're basic attacking you, you don't have a 13 trait, which feels pretty bad. Like even if like their tank, he stuns you and then auto attacks you, and then all of a sudden the Leeming combo deals full damage.
Yeah, it seems like a talent that might be good if the meta shifts to more mage heavy, but even then, like you said, the tank just goes in and touches you a few times and you're
so
you're kind of
it's
screwed.
different, because if it's like, okay, they've got a tank who's going to auto attack me, but I don't care about his damage anyway, right? Even though it's amped by 15%, but like if they've got a Vala, I can't pick this. Whereas now it's like it doesn't even matter. Like if they have dive that's gonna get onto me, I can't pick this. I need ice block. So.
And this also included. We're gonna just jump to the warrior changes because there's a lot of minor changes to go through. Go ahead and read those on heroesofthestorm.blizspro.com. Zex, have you had a chance to look at these diva changes? Because they definitely changed some new things on her. Just on the talents alone, a lot of changes on that level 1 talent.
I haven't gotten a lot of chance to play Diva here recently. Let's see here. Rush down. That just seems like it makes it a little harder to do. The crash course, that's definitely a buff. That seems nice. Pro moves, I honestly never took the pro. I took that one with the massive boost, but I haven't played her here recently. Diverting power actually seems really, really good. That 20% increase while you're using it is going to be really, really helpful, I think. I don't know anybody who takes nuclear option at 7. Just because it takes so much longer for that, if I'm thinking of the right talent, takes so much longer.
I took it once this weekend and immediately regretted it.
Yeah, as you should have, because that's just not a good talent. Stop and pop. I'm already a huge fan of stop and pop. And that extra damage is just insane right there. Especially if you catch someone like running towards a bush and you're in the bush. Like, that's just an ungodly amount of damage right there. That is going to just hurt. The concussive pulse seems that reduced cooldown seems pretty good as well. Garrosh, Death Wish. Okay. I mean, Warlord's Challenge is still a godlike CC.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
the Joe changes are interesting, though. I like the base health increase and the slow duration increased on Falling Sword, making it definitely a little bit more competitive with Blessed Shield.
I really think Falling Sword's the talent to go to now. Like, I really, really do. I mean, Blessed Shield is great, but like, Falling Sword will knock out channeling ults.
I mean, so does Blessed Shield.
But yeah, but you don't always get the bounce you want on Blessed Shield, where with Falling Sword, you can control that. You hit who you want to hit. And then you're in perfect position for Condemn, Punish, Shield Glares. Like, to me, Falling Sword just has more utility right now. And the slow duration being bumped up to 3 seconds, that's, if I remember, what, a 50% slow upon landing? So that's a huge amount of time for them to be slowed that long. Also, Hold Your Ground, getting an additional 10% on your shield, that actually makes me think maybe I should take that rather than Laws of Hope. I mean, Laws of Hope's still very good, obviously, but having that extra shield on Hold Your Ground is definitely something now to consider. I'm not going to be surprised if I see people taking that. Roar, damage buff. Honestly, I might take that. Blessed Hammer. I only used to take that talent because her 16 tier was garbage, and Blessed Hammer was really the only good thing, especially when she had battle momentum. So I would be able to
battle momentum. I missed that.
Yeah, I would throw out tons and tons of just condemns just to get that extra damage, because that made her a really effective jungler, if I'm honest.
Oh yeah.
Like, she was really, really good at jungling once you got battle momentum. So, but yeah, like I said last week, welcome back, Johanna. Like, people, I will be shocked if she doesn't come just. And it's right for her to come back into the meta, because Natalie Dormer is a beautiful woman.
But yeah, I don't know. I haven't played any of this rework, kind of minor reworked Johanna yet, and I really need to. I keep picking ETC though, because he's just really good right now. But yeah, Joe's really good as well. So some really interesting changes for HEC coming up, as well as the ones that came out today with Muradin and Zul'jin, which we talked about last week. Go check out last week's episode for those. I think it's kind of a light news week, so we might be having a short show tonight. So Any closing thoughts before we send it off for tonight?
Rework Chen.
There you
Seriously.
go. P Flame G.
No, I don't have many closing thoughts. I'll definitely be trying to do a little bit more look into some of the teams going to BlizzCon, so I can have a better idea of what's going to go down as the group stages start up. So should be a good discussion next week.
Yeah, most definitely. Make sure to go check us out on blitzpro.com to see the newest episodes, as well as on youtube.com/blitzpro, discord.blitzpro.com, where we hang out all through the week, patreon.com/heroespower if you want to support us, as well as reviewing us on iTunes and Google Play. 5-star reviews really help expand the show out. Thanks once again to Trikslyr for coming on this show and having a chat with us. We really enjoyed that. And that should be it for this week, episode 121 of the Heroes Power Hour. Go get those Halloween loot chests, loot crates, and we hope you get what you want. And we will see you next week. Stay tight.